China is the third largest country in the world. China is one of the largest and most populous Asian countries with more than 1.4 billion people. China is also known as a country with a strong cultural until now, from calligraphy, food, style of dress, language, celebration, and more. Therefore, with a very interesting and diverse Chinese culture, we would like to discuss and analyze Chinese culture in terms of Hofstede cultural dimension and the cultural dimension entrepreneur. First of all, we will discuss and analyze Chinese culture in terms of Hofstede cultural dimension. China is included in the high power distance country where Chinese culture is characterized by a paternalistic mindset and also the gap between the lower and upper classes, not only in the class division but also in culture. In the business world, the relationship between superiors and subordinates tends to be no defense against the abuse, because Chinese culture has intrinsic characteristic of Chinese people who must obey and respect authority. China is a very collective culture and not necessarily from themselves. The average Chinese cultures tend to depend on one another with others rather than individuals. In business, companies in China tend to be disliked suppliers and other vendors who change frequently and remain firm with one vendor because they have subscribed it. So in this case, Chinese culture prefers togetherness like collectivism. The Chinese people prioritize working than have a free time and apply that leisure time is not a very important, so that China is included in masculinity. Chinese people feel comfortable with ambiguity, such as Chinese language. Many ambiguous meaning that may be difficult for Western society to understand. Chinese society is adaptable and entrepreneurial, so that China is said to be low uncertainty avoidance. And finally, China is a long-term orientation in which Chinese people usually think for a long time because China wants to become the next superpower, so there must be a tendency to think ahead. Likewise, in the term of business, Chinese culture tends to think long and hard to make decisions in business. But that doesn't mean China is difficult to make decisions quickly. Chinese culture is deeply imbued with a sense of historical grandeur, and it is therefore common for Chinese people to have a larger and longer time perspective than Western societies. And now we will discuss an analysis of Chinese culture in entrepreneur's dimension. Particularism is characteristic where people believe that every situation and relationship determines the rules they live by. Their response to a situation can change based on what's happening at the moment and who is involved. Chinese culture is included in the dimension of particularism because Chinese culture always respects the needs of others when making decisions and also understand their needs. Chinese culture also tends to spend more time building relationships and getting to know other people so they can better understand their needs. But that doesn't mean that Chinese people take the time not to work. The second is that Chinese culture is included in the diffuse dimension where people see a dependency between work and personal life. Chinese people tend to believe that good relationships are essential to fulfilling business goals, and their relationships remain the same both at work and in social gatherings. The conclusion is that Chinese society is more focused on mingling with other people in building relationships before focusing on their business goals. Finally, in entrepreneur dimension, China represents the outer direction. Chinese cultures believe that the natural environment controls them. They must work with the environment to achieve goals. At work or in relationship, they focus their action on other people and they avoid conflict whenever possible. Chinese society tends to take responsibility for their work and always do whatever it can to increase people's trust. For this is very important in a business. After we analyze Chinese culture in terms of Hofstede and entrepreneur's culture, both are very important things applied by a country. Every country must have its own culture and have their own ways of regulating business or economy in their country. But everything that is implemented by each country is neither wrong or right. In this video, we would like to tell you about the Chinese culture that influenced their business. So that in doing business, it is very important to adjust to the culture of each country or workplace. And that is all from us. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.